The rain fell hard over Port Ravello the night Daniel Bello died. Inside their small apartment above the grocery store, Daniel and Amina were laughing. Amina was 7 months pregnant, her hand resting gently on her stomach. "He kicked again," Daniel whispered, smiling. "Our son is already strong." Amina laughed softly. "He has your stubbornness." Then there was a knock at the door. Daniel opened it. 3 men stood outside. Dark coats. Silent faces. Amina felt something shift in the air, something cold and final. Daniel stepped outside to speak with them. She watched through the curtain as rain blurred the streetlights. Their conversation was short. Too short. Then a single sharp crack split the night. Daniel fell. The men walked back to their SUVs without rushing. The rain continued as if nothing had happened. Amina did not scream. She held her stomach and whispered, "I promise. I won't let this stand." In that moment, grief did not break her. It hardened. The city knew the name behind it, Victor Drago. A man who controlled docks, politicians, and fear itself. People avoided saying his name. Even at Daniel's funeral, condolences were brief and cautious. Amina did not protest publicly. She did not cry out for revenge. She began asking quiet questions. She visited Daniel's old workshop. The smell of oil lingered in the air. She remembered him mentioning Victor's armored SUV, hidden compartments, modifications, secrets in steel. Pregnancy made her invisible. No one suspects a woman carrying life to be planning death. 2 months later, Victor attended a high-profile charity gala. Cameras flashed. He smiled and shook hands, speaking about growth and investment. Amina watched from a distance. She had learned his routine. After events, he dismissed most of his guards. He trusted his armored SUV more than people. Earlier that week, something subtle had been adjusted in that vehicle. Nothing explosive. Nothing reckless. Just enough to guarantee a stall in a specific underground tunnel where signals were weak. She wasn't preparing for chaos. She was preparing for precision. After midnight, Victor's SUV rolled into the tunnel. Then it stopped. The engine died. The driver stepped out in confusion. Victor waved him away and stepped forward himself. That was when Amina walked into the dim light. "You're in the way," he said. "You killed my husband." Recognition flickered across his face. "He refused business," Victor replied calmly. "That has consequences." Amina felt her child move inside her. And so does this. The tunnel lights flickered and went dark. Exit gates locked. When Victor reached for his weapon, there was a single flash in the darkness. One shot. When the lights returned, Victor Drago lay motionless. Amina stood still. She called the police herself. 10 to 20 minutes. By morning, the city was in shock. The untouchable man was dead. Killed by a pregnant widow. Some called her brave. Others called her dangerous. At trial, she did not deny what she had done. "I wanted my son to grow up in a city without fear," she said. The courtroom fell silent. Then something unexpected happened. Witnesses began stepping forward. Business owners. Dock workers. Former associates. With Victor gone, fear loosened its grip. Stories of corruption surfaced. Hidden accounts were exposed. His empire began to collapse piece by piece. The prosecution struggled as more evidence of Victor's crimes emerged. In the end, Amina received a reduced sentence due to the extraordinary circumstances and the evidence against Victor. Months later, she gave birth in prison. A boy. She named him Daniel. Years passed. Public opinion shifted. The city changed. Without Victor, the underground power structure fractured. New leadership rose, but not with the same iron grip. When Amina was eventually released, she stepped into sunlight with her son holding her hand. Life seemed to move forward. But something about that night in the tunnel never fully made sense. Years later, during a routine internal audit in the police department, irregularities surfaced. Tunnel security overrides had been accessed minutes before Victor's vehicle stalled. Patrol routes near the tunnel had been mysteriously redirected. The access trail led to Officer Gabriel Moretti, one of the first responders that night. Moretti had been investigating Victor quietly for years. The tunnel malfunction wasn't random. The blackout wasn't accidental. The absence of nearby patrol units wasn't coincidence. Amina had pulled the trigger. But someone had set the stage. Investigators discovered that Moretti had built a quiet case against Victor for a long time but lacked final leverage. And then came the deeper discovery. Daniel Bello's name appeared in archived communications. Daniel hadn't just repaired Moretti's vehicle years earlier. They had been meeting. Quietly. Moretti had been feeding Daniel information. Daniel had been helping track vehicle movements and hidden compartments. Daniel wasn't just a mechanic who refused a job. He had been assisting in building a case. He knew Victor was dangerous. He knew the risk. He chose it anyway. Victor didn't kill a random man who simply said no. He killed someone already trying to bring him down. The night in the tunnel was not just revenge. It was the final move in a plan that had started long before Daniel's death. 20 to 30 minutes. When her son Daniel turned 15, he finally asked the question, "Mom, did you really kill him?" She looked at him carefully, studying his face, the same eyes as his father. "I ended something that would have destroyed many families," she said quietly. He didn't push further. That night, after he went to bed, Amina opened a small wooden box she had kept hidden for years. Inside was an envelope. Photographs. Daniel meeting Officer Moretti in quiet cafes. Documents spread across tables. Maps of shipping routes. Notes in Daniel's handwriting. He had been part of something bigger. He had been brave long before she ever was. Tears fell freely for the first time in years. She hadn't acted alone. She had continued what he started. Moretti resigned quietly after the audit findings surfaced. No public scandal followed. Too many powerful names had already fallen in Victor's collapse. The city moved on. But the truth remained buried beneath official reports. Daniel lit the fuse. Amina carried the flame. And the empire burned because of both of them. In Port Ravello, people no longer whisper about fear. They whisper about courage. And about how sometimes, the people you think are powerless are already several steps ahead.